Welcome to September 2023. This is going to be the icing on the cake of a year in which we've been in the universal year of 7 and a universal month of 7. Seriously? Oh my God, that's a lot of 7 energy. But before you go running off into the woods with your hands over your ears, yelling, la, 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 I can't hear you. Hear me out, because it's really not all that bad. It's really not. So September holds another karmic debt influence of the 16-7. How do we know that? We know that our universal year this year is a 7. We add that to the 9 for September. That adds up to 16-7. Now, many numerologists might say, oh, it's just a 7. But I go a little deeper, as you know. So we leave no stone unturned for you guys. So I want you to know there is a karmic debt influence and an opportunity for you guys to really rock it out rather than crash and burn. Okay, so listen up. The card, the tarot card, is the number 16 in the tarot deck, right? So it is associated with that karmic influence. So now, let's be kind here, guys, because I am a 16-7. I mean, after all, that is my life path number. So I'm a little bit sensitive to this number. So hear me out. Many view that tower card when they see it come up in a spread as a symbol of destruction. It's the tower should be standing like this, but it's not. It's coming down like that. It's crashing and it's burning and the lightning's hitting it and the flames are going on and people are jumping to their death. But what it really means is it is the rise and the fall of the ego. So it's not really a bad thing, but it looks really scary, right? Scarier even than the death card can look at times. But let's face it, sometimes we all need to be kicked off of our towers, off of our perches so that we can rebuild again. So that's what this is all about. So September is going to be just that kind of a month. So what do we know about the universal year of 7? Okay, so we've talked about this before, but I'm going to recap for a second. It's a time to be a little bit more reflective, a time to be introspective. It's a time when we're going to be asking us the big questions, right? What am I here for? What do I want? How do I want to get there? It's a time that you're being asked to spend a lot of time in solitude, right? You don't really necessarily want to hang out with a bunch of people. It's a very spiritual year where we need to learn how to surrender and trust in a much bigger power than ourselves, right? It's a universal timeout. It's like get in your timeout chair and wait it out kind of thing. So how exactly is the influence of the 16-7 going to play out for us in the month of September 2023? Well, I'm glad you asked. So this is a 7 on a 7. That's what I call it. It's a 7 on a 7. So we have double the influence of the 7 going on. And dare I say, the 7, as you know, I commonly refer to it as the head case number. It keeps us all right up here. So now we're going to get a double dose of head case energy. Yay. It's real fun for all of us who are 7s. Anyway, moving on. So we're already feeling under the influence of 2023's 7. We're already feeling a little directionless. We're already being in our heads. And this is the 16-7 coming in from September might emphasize this confusion, but it's doing it for a very solid reason. Okay, so I need you to understand that. So I affectionately refer to the number 16-7 as the crash, the burn, and the learn number, okay? We all need to crash, burn, and learn every now and again. When the 16-7 comes into focus, it's asking us to reconsider the direction that we're going in. Are we making decisions from our heads? That's an ego decision, or are we making the decisions from our heart? Listening to your ego is always going to take you down the wrong path, which is always going to invite opportunities for a crash, burn, and learn moment, right? And trust me when I tell you, they are overrated and they get old really quick, right? Got the t-shirts and all the colors. So here's an example of what I'm talking about. So I think it was 1989. I had a really great job. I was an executive, climbed the corporate ladder really quick. Had a really good position. I was making all kinds of money. I had a company car, had the benefits, the vacations, and I was working just 5 minutes from my home. Life was pretty sweet. I had just gotten married. I had a wonderful 5-year-old son, but I was bored, right? I've got a big 5 in my chart, and that causes me to be a little bit bored, a little bit restless. I needed a little bit more of a challenge. I needed a little bit more excitement. So I blew up my job. Yeah. So I left my job. I left my job for a whole lot less money, no car, no benefits. And now I had a 2-hour commute in the winter on a single lane highway. Did I mention I had just built a house and we had a huge mortgage on it as well? Who does that? I mean, who does that? Who blows up their world like that? I did. Dare I mention that I'm also a 16-7 life path number. So this is not uncommon, right, for a 16-7 to do. But I know a lot of you guys are not 16-7. So let's get back to the point of the influence of the cycle of that 16-7. So when I got to the new job that I had manifested, I realized very quickly that I was completely underqualified for the position and that I had made an enormous mistake. I'd left a perfectly good job 5 minutes from my home to drive an hour each way and to know that I really wasn't qualified for that job. I was spiraling hardcore around the drain. Talk about a crash, burn, and learn. Basically, I'll just cut to the chase. Basically, what was happening is I let my ego steer the bus, right? The ego was in control of everything. I wasn't listening. I didn't listen to reason. I didn't tap into my intuition. I didn't surrender to a higher power for direction. I just went full bore in one direction without tapping into spirit. Basically, I had a tower moment, okay? So September might present you with a tower moment as well. But tower moments can be amazing gifts if you'll approach them with the right attitude. I'm going to help you with that. So how can you avoid a tower moment? You can't, right? When they happen because you haven't surrendered, nor have you trusted. So it's the bitch slap, basically, that you're going to get from the universe for not tuning in, for not listening up, for not paying attention to the signs, right? I had every sign. Everything was telling me, do not do this, do not take this job, do not blow up your world. I didn't listen. All right. But you can go through your tower moment with ease if you're going to apply these tips that I learned as a result of going through my crash and burn. So I want you to check in to see if you're making decisions from your ego. So often that's what we do. And why do we do this? It's because sometimes you're making decisions that are safe because you fear the change. Or is it possible that you're allowing yourself to stay stuck in old patterns that don't serve you well any longer, right? So what have you been holding on to that really is not within your best interest? Is it a job? Is it a relationship? Is it weight? Is it an unhealthy habit? What is it? Is it time for it to go? So I want you to pay attention to what needs to be released before the universe does it for you, because trust me, there is a better way, right? And waiting for the universe to blow it up is not really recommended. So recognize that this is a dismantling process. It's okay. And it's intended to create space for new opportunities, for new beginnings that, will allow room for good things to come in, things that will really help you to get moving forward. And that's what it's all about, right? This is the lessons that we're learning, that we chose to learn, but there's an easier way to go through it. The influence of the 16-7 can be a little bit scary. I'm not going to lie. It can be, because again, it causes you to feel quite directionless. That 7 is all related to spiraling around the drain a little bit. So the best way to counteract that fear that you might feel is to trust and surrender in the process. Okay, this is a process. And remember, September might be a 16-7 universal month, but that's a cycle. This doesn't define who you are. This doesn't define your experience. This is not a hardcore number in your chart. This is a cycle that all of us are going through, right? Every one of us is going to feel this effect. So we want to show a little bit of compassion to those around us who are going through it too. And because you guys are the smart ones who watch this video, you can help them out. Remember that the universe has always got your best interest at heart. Always does, right? So if you are experiencing a tower moment, it's because it's a little bit overdue, right? And they're kind of putting you in your place and telling you to listen up a little bit more closely, because the universe does hold all the answers that you seek. So September is going to be about trusting in the process of what some might call destruction. Oh my God, if you go and read about the 16-7 online, or you get into the books and whatnot, they paint a pretty dark picture. I am not that girl. I do not buy into that. I'm not trying to sell readings by creating a whole bunch of scary hype. That is not my style, but it is the style of a lot of people out there. Okay. So be careful not to fall into that trap, guys, because it's really not that bad. This is a learning opportunity. And not all of you will really feel any effects of it, but some of you will. Some of you who are already feeling a little bit directionless could go down a bit of a slippery slope in September. So this is just giving you a little bit of a heads up to help you learn how to manage it a little bit better. Because you know what? We need to tear down the old foundations before we can create new ones, right? Before we can build anything new, we need to tear down the old, right? So trust that this is all for your highest good and surrender to the process. You're going to be so glad that you did. I promise you that. I would love to help you navigate September so that you can really embrace the opportunity that it presents. It presents an opportunity to grow. And this is going to be a huge learning curve for all of us. But your soul signature, your soul contract is going to give you a whole lot of insight on how you can really, really rock it out in September. So I invite you to check out the new reading options that I have. I have a new Master Number 11 reading. I have a future forecast reading. I've got the soul signature readings. There's all kinds of really cool stuff in there. And I have a need to know reading as well. All of these are brand new. So you might want to check it out. It's AnnPerryNumerologist.com. But for now, I'm hoping that you are creating your best day ever. Bye for now.